I have so much respect from who you're about to learn from. She has been a junior high pastor at North Coast Church for over 20 years. Now, 20 years in the same church in junior high ministry, I mean, that deserves some kind of youth ministry medal, right? She's also the creator and the host of the Ministry Coach podcast, and her decades in the trenches of youth ministry make her a trusted voice who we get to learn from today. So let's give a warm welcome to KRISTEN LASCOLA.
Just like there are certain laws of nature, like the law of gravity or the law of attraction, after 20 years in youth ministry, I am convinced that there are certain undeniable and unbreakable laws of youth ministry. For example, students are definitely not talking when you see and hear them talking 3 feet away from you. And if something gets broken or someone gets hurt, they didn't do it, even if they did it. And if we're all exhausted from a camp, an all-nighter, a lock-in, at least one parent will be roughly 45 minutes late to pick up, or better yet, forget to pick them up altogether. At least one kid will puke at summer camp, and why is it always spaghetti or pizza? And it is undeniable that no matter what, there will be drama. I mean, in all fairness, this is not unique to just youth ministry. Wherever there are people, there will be drama. No matter how much they love Jesus, when people are in any kind of relationship, whether it's family, coworkers, friends, adult Bible studies, youth groups, or a student small group, you can guarantee there will be some kind of drama at some point. And it will come in all shapes and sizes, and it's hard to predict what type of drama you will face as a leader. It's kind of like spinning a wheel. So how can we be prepared? As people committed to leading God's family and God's children well, what overarching and guiding principles can we use to help students navigate drama well? Not if, but when it comes knocking. When our default reaction might be to get annoyed, ignore it, get angry, or minimize it, how can we model health and maturity in this area to our students? I mean, how many times have we said, or at least thought, that our students' problems and squabbles are silly, no big deal, that they just need to get over it? And there are way bigger problems in life than getting kicked out of a group text or having a crush on the same person. To us, it seems silly, and it should. We're adults who have hopefully moved past this stage of life. But remember, drama is relative to the one experiencing it. So we're way more helpful to students when we give them tools to navigate these big feelings and their drama. So what are some real tools that we can put in the hands of those we lead that will serve them long after their youth ministry years are over? Students need to know that while we aren't required to be friends with everyone, Jesus is clear on a few things that are required. Here are a few things that Jesus is crystal clear on that we can point students to. He's clear that we are honest and own our own stuff. And this is so hard for students because they naturally get defensive. They blame others, they deflect, and don't we all? Because owning their part in any drama or behavior issue is a huge challenge for them. In Matthew, it says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take that speck out of your eye,' when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." So when it comes to drama, students usually claim innocence on their part and are so afraid to be honest. They're afraid of consequences because that's the world they live in. So I start by quieting those fears and tell them, I'm not your parent, I'm not your principal, I'm your pastor, and I'm your friend. I'm not here to punish you or give you consequences, but to coach you and disciple you toward peace in this situation and a pattern of peace in your whole life. Because there's nothing to be afraid of in being honest with yourself and others. We all mess up. And most of the time, drama has a shared cause between all of us. So ask your students this question: what part of this situation can you own? And another thing that Jesus is clear on is that we reconcile and do it quickly. So this could take the form of an apology between students, or at the very least, a conversation acknowledging the hurt they caused to one another. Jesus even considers it more important to reconcile our relationships than to perform our religious duties. In Matthew, he says, if you are offering your gift at the altar and remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar first. Go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. He goes on to say, agree with your adversary quickly. And in Ephesians, Paul reminds us not to let the sun go down on our anger. Students might need you to help be the peacemaker between them. You might need to lead them through a conversation of reconciliation and forgiveness. And as I mentioned before, this can't come unless both parties have been honest and own their part. So as a volunteer, don't try to talk students out of their feelings, but rather show them that peace is available between us, even if our feelings are still hurt. Peace means that the war between us has got to stop. Our feelings don't have to change immediately, but we choose to stop firing shots at each other. So this means stop talking about it with other people. Stop making accusations and justifying your actions to everyone. Stop finding those opportunities to gossip and stop with the side eyes and the glares and the cold shoulders. And then point them to Proverbs, where it says that stirring up conflict is on the list of things that are an abomination to God. It's number one on the list of things he actually hates. And while we can't just snap our fingers and change our feelings towards someone, we can choose our words and our actions. And I would encourage you, as a volunteer, use drama as an opportunity to pause and pray for that teenager, because chances are good they have never had a caring adult pray specifically for them. And I know it can be scary, but it can also be so powerful when one of their spiritual leaders pauses to pray. And the third thing that Jesus is clear on is that we forgive each other and move on. Remind students that Jesus isn't requiring us to be best friends, but he is crystal clear on his requirement to forgive. So us walking our students through how to forgive is part of the role of discipleship in their lives. So just like the first two steps, this doesn't come easy or naturally to any of us. Teach them that forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. It's a choice to stop letting someone live rent-free in your head and in your heart, to let them off the hook. Stop looking for opportunities for gossip or slander or revenge, and release them from that prison of hate, because in doing so, we release ourselves from the weight of that anger and hurt and can live in freedom. Because if we don't, we just let that hurt us over and over and over again, because it's for you, not for them. And as a spiritual leader, I would encourage you to gently remind students of how much they've been forgiven. And because of this, we have no right to withhold forgiveness from others. We're not perfect, and neither are they. So teach your students the spiritual practice of giving grace and receiving grace, because throughout our lives, we find ourselves in both positions over and over again. Sometimes if we get in one of those unbreakable drama cycles, I need to stop and ask students who are having this bitter attitude, can I ask you something? If you're honest, do you want peace in this situation, or are you enjoying the drama on some level? Sometimes students hang on to it without realizing they're doing it, and their flesh is enjoying the drama and the attention, and they need a reality check, and they might need you to call them on it. So remember, 3 easy steps to walk students through: own it, apologize and reconcile, and then forgive and move on. And those tools will help your students long after they leave our youth ministries. They're going to help with their relationships in the future, with their families, their coworkers, their friends, their future spouse, and future children. And remember, when all else fails, as a volunteer youth leader, you don't have to handle drama on your own. If there has to be a villain in the situation, let it be the primary leader overseeing your ministry. They're there to help. When you just want to throw in the towel on a student who won't budge, or drama that seems like a never-ending cycle, don't let it frustrate you to the point that you feel ready to quit. It might not seem like it, but it will eventually resolve, and it's actually not your job to fix all their problems. It's important to give them resources instead of you trying to be the resource. You can teach and help and guide and instruct, and after all this, if it doesn't get fixed, it doesn't mean it was a failure. So remember, they're learning, and they won't handle things perfectly all the time. With this and everything else in youth ministry, it's so important to take the long view and at the end of the day, be as real as you can with students. Because the truth is, the body of Christ isn't made up of people who all like each other, but it's all people who understand that the way we treat each other is guided by something far bigger than our likes.